the bedrock, the foundation. This is the tub for this camper. It's the portion that's primarily made up of plywood that actually slides into the bed of the pickup truck. It's the part that you rarely see, it's the part that you first build, and it's not the part that you would typically iconically recognize as being part of this camper series. However, it's where the whole thing starts. So keep in mind, guys, when I built this first camper, I kind of had to figure it out. And one of the first things I did is I recognized that this initial foundation of the camper was important. And I chose, in my case, to use plywood. Now, to lighten the load and ease on cost, I decided to use different thicknesses of plywood. So I used primarily 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. Now this build, as you'll see in next week's video, I actually did some other unique things in terms of the use of insulation and sandwiching materials. Let's talk about some dimensions. The average full-size truck bed, which is what I'm basing this build off of, is made to where you can take a 4x8 sheet of plywood and lay it flat in the bed. So in this case, that's exactly what I did. The floor for this camper is 48.5 inches wide, which is a dimensional width for this particular piece of plywood that I'm using, which is a 1/2 inch sheet of pre-finished ply. I cut the overall length of the tub to be 83 inches. In my case, I actually cut it down by 1 inch to the previous camper, the rationale being that I carry a small motorcycle on the back of my camper, and that extra inch maybe just give me a little bit of extra swing on the door. What is obvious now is we're getting the tub put together. I want to take a moment to touch on a few pieces. As I described, the bottom is going to be 1/2 inch. These vertical portions are going to be 3/4, and I chose to use this because of the vertical loading that will occur here. As you guys saw in the time lapse, I just started by putting on this panel, clamping it down, adding a glue strip, 18 gauge brad nails, more so than anything just to hold it in place. I did the same with the other 3 corners, or the other 3 pieces, which tie it all together, and then I went through and put in screws. I use these 2-inch deck screws. Frankly, this is just because I have these and I like these, but you could use any kind of wood screw. I would probably recommend a coarse thread. Now, there's many ways to skin a cat, but I choose to use a drill. I'm fortunate in the sense that I can stage this, meaning that I have this this bit option here, which just with this collar, I can snap out and pull out. So this allows me to drill a pilot hole and to recess it. And then when I go to put in the screws, I just flip it over and I've got the proper driver head, which is a star bit for these screws. And I go ahead and put them in. One note about putting in the screws is more is not always better. And what I mean by that is, especially a drill like this could drive them right through and you'll strip out all of the bite that you have from the screw. So less is more when you put in the screw, just enough to get a nice solid bite. With experience and time, you will feel it. A lot of drivers have like a screw setting, which is provides minimal torque. That might be ideal for new users or other circumstances. I've done a lot of these, so I just can kind of feel it. But every once in a while, I'll still tear one out. So we'll continue on. Thanks. The next dimension to discuss is the height of the vertical side rails of the tub themselves. To determine that, we need to look at the standard height of the bed rails of your average full-size pickup truck, and that's 21 inches. So the vertical side rails of the tub itself need to be higher. That way when you attach the wings, or the horizontal surface which will extend over the bed rails of the pickup truck, they will clear those bed rails. Now another thing to consider though is the looks of it. Now I want to build this camper to where it could fit in any full-size pickup truck. However, there is variation on the bed rail height from pickup truck to pickup truck, the max being 21 inches. In my particular truck, a 2001 Chevy Silverado, the bed rails are actually only about 19.25 inches high. If I made the vertical surfaces of the tub 21 inches, when the camper sit in the pickup truck, there would be a sizable gap between the bottom of the wings and the top of the bed rails of the pickup truck. I didn't want that, so I chose to cut my tub a little bit on the shorter side. In this case, I did it about 19.5 inches. So there's only about a ½ inch gap between the bottom of the wings and the top of the truck bed rails. Okay. Hey guys, let me real quick explain something I'm doing here. Now this may not make sense for a lot of you, but this will make more sense, I promise, as the project goes on. So you guys can see that I have some overhang with the wings and a little bit of overhang with the front of this, okay? So imagine that this bottom portion is going to slide into the bed of the truck. This part that I'm touching right here will actually overhang the front lip of the truck bed, okay? What I've done here is in this front portion, we're going to prepare to mark some lines, okay? And we're going to cut this, and there's going to be a subtle curve, narrower on the sides, longer on the front. This will be sometime in the future, but when I skin or apply the cedar boards across this front portion of the truck camper, and this will be the portion that is immediately below the cab over, there's going to be a subtle curve in this, okay? Now this is a design element that I'm incorporating into this new camper just to kind of add a little bit more style and maybe even perhaps make it a little bit more aerodynamic. Now the way that we're going to make this curve though is I have this aluminum straight edge here, and I've got it tipped on its side. We marked these 2 points here at 83 inches, so 83 inches from the end to the point of this straight edge here on the far end of each side of the wings. And this is 84.5. So we have clamped them down. We've formed the bend. We will scribe a line in here, and then we will jigsaw cut it, okay? Bear with me. If this doesn't make sense right now, I promise you at some point in the future it will be, and you can ask me questions in the live coming up. As I was before I so rudely interrupted myself, I would rather the tub be just a little bit on the shorter side, because what I can do is if I got another pickup truck that the bed rails were higher than my current one, I could just put something in the bed to actually raise the tub of the truck camper up, as opposed to having it very tall and having kind of what I would think to be an unattractive look of, much of the wings standing above the surface of the pickup itself. For week 2 right here. As you guys can see, we got quite a bit of progress done. We got the initial portion of the tub assembled. There is a little bit more work to be done on the tub. We're going to need to add some supporting ribs, insulation, and ultimately paint the exterior of it with bed liner. Okay, I'll see you guys on the live on Tuesday. Have your questions that you may have prepared, and we'll discuss it from there, and I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.